Every story leaves a trace. In the sea, a voice lost; in the forest, a step echoing; and before the light, a shadow standing still. None of them knew each other, yet all of them heard the same silence, the same breath, the same darkness. Sometimes nature isn't alone. Sometimes the wind carries someone. Maybe it was a call, maybe a warning, or perhaps just the story of those who returned. 3 stories, but the same silence.
Last summer, I decided to stay in an old family lighthouse on the Maine coast. The townspeople called it cursed, but I laughed it off. My father used to say, the lighthouse drives away darkness, but sometimes it calls the darkness in. I couldn't shake those words. Inside, the lighthouse smelled of damp wood, rust, and decay. It seemed no one had lived here for years. In the attic, I found a dusty wooden chest. Inside was a leather-bound, yellow journal. The first pages were just notes about wind direction, ship arrivals, and weather. But the further I read, the darker the entries became. If the light goes out at night, they come to shore. If the light is on, they try to get inside. The stains on the page weren't rust or salt. They looked like dried blood, smeared with fingers. Suddenly, the metal staircase creaked. I went up, but no matter how many steps I climbed, I never reached the top. I was back where I started, dizzy and heart racing, as if the lighthouse itself had twisted in on itself. Lying down, I noticed shadows flickering across the ceiling. The waves outside were shaping ghostly figures, but not just shapes. Faces, eyeless, mouths frozen in a silent scream. Then, a whisper rose right beside my ear.
If you are reading these lines, it's too late.
That night, I was completely alone in the lighthouse. The wind howled, rattling the walls, and the waves crashed against the rocks, sending an eerie echo through the tower. At the top, the lighthouse's light barely glowed. Before trying to sleep, I opened the journal again. The pages were filled with shaky, hurried handwriting. Their footsteps don't come from water, but from stone. They leave no trace when they walk, but they know your name. They know yours too. Reading that line made my hands go ice cold. Right then, I heard the scrape of metal stairs. Slow, heavy footsteps were coming up. I grabbed my flashlight, shining it into the shadows, but there was nobody there. Only the rusty metal steps glimmered in the beam. I whispered to myself, it's just the wind, but my throat was tight, my heart pounding. Then I approached the window. Fog had swallowed the coast completely. Through the mist, I could see shadows moving on the waves. Human-shaped, but unnaturally tall and thin. They turned their heads toward me. I rubbed my eyes, and when I looked again, they were gone. Trying to sleep, I noticed the rhythm of the water dripping from the ceiling had changed. It wasn't random anymore. It spelled a word. The sound repeated like a slow chant.
Ethan, Ethan.
Ethan, my name. I couldn't utter a sound. Pulling the blanket over my head didn't help. The sinister whisper seeped into my ears. It wasn't like someone was just nearby. It felt like they were breathing right beside me. We see you. Now we are with you. On the third night, I realized nothing would ever be the same. The fog had thickened, swallowing the sea outside. I lit the lighthouse lamp, but the beam barely cut through the mist, leaving a faint, ghostly glow. I opened the journal again. One page caught my eye. Don't lose your way, otherwise they will find you. Then I heard footsteps on the wooden stairs. They weren't creaking naturally. They sounded like they were hitting directly into my skull. I shined my flashlight toward the window. A shadow appeared in the fog. Tall, thin, head tilted slightly, staring right at me. I only caught a glimpse. Its eyes glowed, but its face seemed absent. I covered my face with my hands, but when I opened them again, the shadow was still there. My own reflection merged with it in the cracked glass. Screaming was impossible. My breath had vanished. The shadows slowly spread across the ceiling, walls, and staircase. The lighthouse didn't feel like a building anymore. It felt alive. My flashlight slipped from my hand. When I looked again, the beam was somewhere else. Outside, I could still hear footsteps on the waves, but now it wasn't just one person. It was multiple presences. And the whisper came again, right in my ear.
If the light goes out, you're ours.
At that moment, I realized the darkness inside the lighthouse wasn't just nighttime. It was inside me. I wasn't alone here anymore. I had invited them in by feeding my own fear. By the fourth night, the silence in the lighthouse was completely gone. A storm had broken outside. Waves slammed against the rocks with such force that the tower seemed to shudder. The wind battered the metal doors, rising like a ghostly choir. The journal was nearly unreadable now. Pages torn and stained dark, almost like blood. The only clear sentence read, "If the light goes out, they are here. The last light is in your hands." I switched off the lamp with my own hands. The air turned icy instantly. The rhythm of the water dripping from the ceiling changed. It was no longer random, echoing instead like slow, deliberate footsteps. Shadows began moving throughout the lighthouse. Faces appeared everywhere. On the ceiling, the stairs, the windows. Eyeless, mouths frozen in silent screams. Then I noticed a faint light outside the top window. In the fog, a long figure stood, leaning toward me, eyes below. Its steps were slow but deliberate, each one sending a pulse through my chest. A whisper rose in my ear. "Welcome."
Now you're with us.
I turned, and the lighthouse interior was empty, yet wet. Fresh footprints appeared on the stone and wooden steps. When I looked out, the lighthouse still shone on the coast, but I was trapped inside, among the shadows. The light was no longer mine. They had it. And I knew, in that instant, there was no way out. The wailing of the storm, the pounding of the waves, and the whispers surrounding me all confirmed one truth. I would never leave this place. That summer, I went camping deep in the woods with my two college friends, Jason and Dylan. We were all tired of the noise of the city, and we thought a few days of silence would do us good. The first thing I noticed while setting up our tents was the silence. There were no insects buzzing, no rustling leaves. It felt like the entire forest was watching us, holding its breath, but I kept that thought to myself. When night fell, we sat around the fire, roasting marshmallows and joking around. Dylan was tossing in another log when he suddenly froze. His eyes shifted toward the bushes. I followed his gaze, and that's when I saw them too. Two glowing eyes staring at us from the darkness. I could see first, I thought it was a deer. But the eyes were too high off the ground, and they didn't move. Jason, trying to mask the tension, called out, "Hey, want to join us?" The eyes slowly faded back into the dark. Not a single branch snapped, not a single leaf moved. Jason's joke fell flat. We all went quiet for a moment, then forced out a laugh. Pretending we hadn't seen anything felt easier. Still, a knot of unease twisted in my stomach. By midnight, we put out the fire and retreated to our tents. Jason and Dylan shared one, and I stayed alone in the other. Lying there, I tried to fall asleep, but every little sound pierced the silence. The forest was still unervingly quiet, so even the faintest noise carried sharp and clear. And then I heard it, the snap of dry branches. Slow, heavy footsteps, as if someone was wandering around the campsite. I held my breath. The thin fabric of the tent kept me from seeing clearly, but I caught the shadow. A tall, lean figure was moving slowly across the dim glow of the dying fire. Just as I was about to call out to my friends, the footsteps stopped. The shadow stood still, right in front of my tent. For what felt like minutes, it didn't move. Then, inch by inch, it backed away. From Jason and Dylan's tent came a soft, nervous chuckle. That's when I realized they were awake too. But none of us said a word. It was as if we all swallowed the same fear at once, burying it deep inside. I didn't sleep a single second that night. Even with my eyes shut, I kept seeing that tall shadow in front of my tent. When the first light of dawn crept through the trees, I finally felt a little relief. In the daylight, the forest seemed less threatening. We went for a hike later that day. Jason kept cracking jokes, Dylan snapped pictures, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone. Every time I turned around, I swore I'd catch someone watching us. When I finally mentioned it, they laughed it off. "You've been watching too many horror movies," they said. Maybe they were right, or maybe they were just trying to convince themselves. That night, the wind picked up. The trees groaned and swayed as we sat around the fire. For a moment, everything went completely still. And in that silence, I heard it clear and close. A whisper. It said my name, Mark. Every hair on my body stood on end. I spun around, but Jason and Dylan were arguing about something, not even looking at me. It hadn't come from them. No, it had come from the dark. Something out there was calling me. For the first time, I wanted to leave. I wanted to pack up and go home. But I couldn't get the words out, because deep down, some part of me knew it wasn't finished with us yet. After that whisper, nothing felt the same. Jason kept laughing and making dumb jokes. Dylan brushed it off like I was just being paranoid. But I could see it, the same fear hiding behind their eyes. They knew something was out there too. By midnight, we crawled back into our tents. I was exhausted, but there was no way I could really sleep. The silence pressed in all around me. That's when I heard it, the slow rasp of a zipper being pulled. Someone outside was opening my tent. I froze. The zipper crept halfway down, and a face appeared in the gap. Two glowing eyes stared in at me, the same eyes I'd seen in the woods. Only now, they were inches away. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. My throat locked up. Then, from Jason and Dylan's tent, a sudden scream tore through the night. They had seen it too, but in the same instant, the face outside my tent was gone. No footsteps, no sound of retreating, just gone. We spent the rest of the night huddled around the fire, too afraid to go back inside. The flames flickered weakly as we listened. All night long, steady footsteps circled our camp, round and round. But no matter how hard we looked, nothing was there. By morning, we'd made up our minds. We were leaving. None of us said it out loud, but the decision was clear in our eyes. We packed our tents in silence and headed for the car. That's when Dylan noticed something by the bushes. On the ground, half sunk in the mud, were footprints. They were long, impossibly long, too wide, too stretched out to belong to any person. We didn't talk about it. We just got in the car and drove. But a few miles down the road, I couldn't help myself. I looked back, and there it was. At the edge of the trees, standing perfectly still in the shadows, was a tall figure, watching us leave. That's when I realized it hadn't stayed behind. It was following. Weeks passed, and I tried to forget, tried to pretend it was just the woods playing tricks on me. But one night in my room, I felt it again, that crushing silence. The same one from the campsite. And in the corner, just beyond the edge of the darkness, two glowing eyes appeared. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then came the whisper, clear this time, right beside my ear.
I'm still here.
The sun wasn't warm that morning. It was midsummer, yet the sea breeze felt cold, as if it was hiding the rest of the day from me. Lena jumped out of the car before I even opened my door. She kicked off her shoes and ran straight toward the sand. That was my little sister. 5 years younger, but always braver. "The ocean's calling you, Mia," she shouted. I laughed, shaking my head. "I'll unload the car first." That laugh of hers, that sound blending into the waves, I can still hear it. It's like time stopped right then. Even the waves seemed slower. No one else knew about our secret cove. Our father had taken us there years ago. After he passed, it became our place, just me and her. That summer, we went there one last time, though I didn't know it yet. I lay down on the sand and opened my book. Lena was already in the water, her laughter echoing every time she dipped under and came back up. At one point, she waved at me, holding a seashell that sparkled even from afar. "Come here," I yelled. But she didn't hear me. Or maybe she didn't want to. A wave came, bigger than the rest, and swallowed her whole. I laughed at first, waiting for her to pop back up. She always played like that. But when the wave pulled back, she wasn't there. I started running. My sandals sank into the sand, almost tripping me. "Lena!" I screamed. The sea was silent. I wanted to dive in, but something about that silence froze me. No seagulls, no wind, no sound of waves, as if the whole world had paused. I stepped into the water up to my knees. Her name left my mouth again and again. Lena! Minutes passed, or maybe hours. When I finally grabbed my phone, my hands were shaking. No signal. Back on the shore, everything was still there. The blanket, my book, Lena's shoes, except for the shell. It was lying on the blanket now, wet, glimmering like it had been freshly polished. A voice inside me whispered, "Don't go." But I did. I ran to the car, started the engine, and looked back. The water was calm. Only a small ripple remained, as if someone had just been there. That day, Lena vanished into the sea. The police, the Coast Guard, divers. They searched for days. They found nothing. No body, no clothes, no trace. Everyone said it was an accident, but I knew better. The sea was different that day, and that silence, that haunting silence, still echoes in my head every night. A year has passed since that day, yet sometimes I still wake up to the smell of salt in the air, and for a moment, I think I'm lying on that same beach again. Once, I even found a seashell beside my pillow. Mom said, it must have blown in through the window, but things the wind carries aren't usually wet. After we lost Lena, none of us were the same. Mom started praying. Dad took his old photos off the walls. And I began to hate the sea. Even the sound of water made me sick. But the dreams never stopped. Every night, the same scene. Lena in the middle of the sea, turning toward me, her face pale but smiling. "Come," she says. "I found something beautiful." I try to walk toward her, but my feet sink into the sand. I try to scream, but no sound comes out. And then, the waves start whispering. Yes, whispering. Every time I hear the same thing, a faint voice calling, "Mia." At first I thought I was losing my mind. Therapy didn't help. The pills didn't help. Because sometimes, I could hear that voice even while awake, especially on rainy days when the sea was visible through the window. I would shut the window, pull the curtains, but the whisper never stopped. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I got in my car and drove back to the cove. The road was dark, yet my heart felt strangely calm, like someone was waiting for me. When I reached the shore, moonlight was pouring over the water like silver. And then, I saw her, Lena. I couldn't stand up. She was standing in the water, waist deep, looking right at me. Her face was pale, but peaceful. "The silence is over," she said. Her voice blended with the wind, but I heard every word. "You have to listen now." I stepped forward. My foot touched the water. And that's when I realized the sea wasn't warm. It was cold. Cold like a grave. The moonlight shimmered on the water. Lena's silhouette trembled like a ghost. Waist deep, she reached out to me. My heart raced. My steps were heavy. Breath caught in my throat. "Follow me," she whispered. Pale, icy, unforgiving. I stepped forward. The water pulled at my feet. The sand resisted. Another step. Cold bit into my bones. Then, she was gone. On the shore stood my own reflection. Eyes locked on mine. Smile. Unnerving. "You didn't find me, but you carry me," it whispered. I squinted at the water. A glimmer. A movement. Lena appeared, then sank. She hadn't disappeared. She was my fear. My guilt. My loss. I took a deep breath. I dove into the cold. The water tried to pull me back, but Lena was there. Or was she? A shadow rose from beneath. It moved toward me. It whispered, "I'm free with you now. Are you?" Fear loosened. Unease lingered. I stepped onto the shore. Sand wet, sinking beneath me. The seashell on the blanket glimmered, smiling at me, like Lena, but not her. The sea went silent. The wind stopped. Moonlight faded, and I realized the real loss wasn't Lena. It was me, my fear, my guilt, my past, the cove, no longer a cove, a mirror. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath. Silence surrounded me, but a voice still whispered, "Did you find me, Mia?" This silence, it was not freedom. It was a test, endless, and it was mine to face.